event organized by NHRD Bangalore chapter in partnership with XLRI Alumni Bangalore chapter. We are here today on the occasion of the book release of CATALYSE, Power Up Your People Ecosystem, authored by Dr. Krish Shankar, Group Head, Human Resources at Infosys. We have a great evening planned, complete with a chat with the author, a panel discussion, and a networking activity. We hope that you have a great time meeting each other and gaining insights and learnings from the various discussions. Do share your learnings and takeaways on social media with #Catalyze. To kick us off, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Chaitanya Srinivas, or Chini, as he is commonly known, the President of NHRD Bangalore chapter. Give it up everyone for Chini.
A warm good evening to everybody. I was actually making fun, just an observation. Everyone likes to sit on the right. So I think that row got completely full. A warm welcome, and on behalf of NHRD, the Bangalore chapter, XLRI Alumni Committee chapter, to all of you here, and thank you for your time, because I know it's a Friday evening, and thank you for your time here. When we started thinking about sessions and what we want to do right out of coming out of the pandemic, we want this to be interactive. We wanted more members to join us. We have about 2,000 members in Bangalore, in the Bangalore chapter. So this is actually a free event. We've got some very, very senior folks from the industry here. We've got students, we've got educators. So please use the time to meet each other and get to know each other. From an NHRD perspective, we have these monthly events that go right through the year. And of course, we have a showcase in November this year, where we bring together some of the best practices that are there in the industry across the chart. So please do join us. We have an exciting evening today. I'm not going to stand between that. So over to you, Krish.
Hi, welcome to this book launch function on 19th of August. Book, wonderful book, given to all of us by Krish Shankar, CATALYSE, very appropriately titled, and Power Up Your People Ecosystem. It's a wonderful book. Share with you some of my thoughts on this book. And after reading about 3-4 chapters, I got quite excited by it, and I kept it aside, and I felt that this is a book which cannot just be read at a stretch. In fact, this is a book which is not meant for merely reading and keeping aside. This book, chapter by chapter, needs to be read, assimilated, reflected, and if you happen to be in an organization, whether a manager or a CHRO or a CXO or anyone, or a HR professional, you should create an opportunity to have conversations around different chapters of this book. This is a great book, and this is exactly in tune with, I think, the HR philosophy we have been promoting for the last nearly 5 decades. But Krish has put all his experience of working in different companies, different organizations, and reading a lot, particularly post-pandemic research studies and pre-pandemic, immediately before the pandemic, some of the researches that have been done there, and integrate them into his experiences and create a new vision for the HR department. In fact, I like what he says. He likes people to think of renaming. Of course, he agrees that renaming itself may not always serve the purpose, but it's a good thought. The HR function as a human potential maximization function. I think this is a very catching title. Of course, HRD has been interpreted in so many ways in the last few years. In early part, when we started the HR department, people used to say resource. The term resource treats human being as a material resource. So rather than resource, call it response, human response development, and other kind of things have come. And in recent past, most of you know, people like Sadhguru have been very rightly promoting that human is not a resource, by which they really mean that we have reduced human beings only to numbers, and human beings cannot simply be captured, measured and limited. Human beings are full of possibilities. Somewhere in the chapters of Krish, I noticed the term possibilities. In fact, his entire philosophy that he has promoted in this book is based on this belief that human beings have unlimited potential. We have to play on their strengths, and managers can accomplish a lot of their personal goals, organizational goals, leadership goals by maximizing, by creating a culture and an environment where people also discover their purpose, discover their potential, utilize the potential, and deliver a whole lot of things. And he has introduced many new concepts. I don't dare to go into all the details. In fact, like each one of you, I am also eager to listen to the panel discussion by Pallab, Meenakshi, Nikita, moderated by Harish. I would love to learn a lot more. I must say that I have enjoyed reading each of the chapters, but there are many chapters which I have read only bits and pieces, and I have kept it aside. I am going to go through them and perhaps use it to help people to rejuvenate themselves, renew themselves. There are a number of lessons. Before I conclude, I want to draw your attention to in this book. Lesson number 1, I think how to treat the people process function totally in a different way. It is the other side of business. In fact, I kept on saying these people and business are two sides of the same coin. There can be no business without people, and people need business to maximize their potential. I think that is what is reflected here. Krish takes a very interesting perspective in everything that he talks about. For example, the way he talks about recruitment, he mentions that do not recruit people for a job, but recruit to create a talent pool, create a talent community. I think that's a very interesting kind of a perspective. It puts, I think, HR or people managers totally into a different kind of platform. The same way, I think he has dealt with engagement. He has given his own definition of engagement, given, I think, a whole lot of the emotionalistics part of the engagement and so on. And I've given 5 pillars of engagement and talked of culture, importance of culture, importance of leadership, developing succession planning and so on, and quoting many examples. I think he has quoted examples from all his work at different organizations, including HUL, Infosys itself, and before that, I think when he started his career from Aisha and Bharti Airtel, and also picks up a lot of insights from other well-known CHROs from the country. I think it's a great book. I look forward to, listening to your comments, and look forward to, of course, doing in-depth reading and promoting what I think Krish has suggested as a self-renewal, a renewal exercise, a series of renewal exercises using different chapters of the book. I am very happy to be a part of this book launch program on this day. I want to wish Krish a great success. This book will be a great success, there is no doubt. But I think sometimes, when you have such wonderful products, if you don't bring to the notice of people, people will not know. And Krish, to the extent I know, is a great leader, but a little bit of a shy leader. Therefore, it gives an opportunity to make in public by some of us, people like those of us who are involved, to launch the book like this and bring it to the notice of a whole lot of people. I would recommend when you chaps go back, you suggest people to buy this and discuss about some of the ideas. There are wonderful ideas on how do you get people to enjoy their work. How do you get people to enjoy their work, discover their potential, utilize the potential, And people, process, and systems are nothing but mechanisms created for continuous self-discovery and application of strengths and for the benefit of the individual as well as the organization. I want to wish this function a great success, wish the book a great success. Krish, all the best, have a great function, and hopefully I will be able to witness the discussions online. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. Have a great evening.
It's lovely to be back at an NHRD event, and what made a joy is in coordination with XLRI Bangalore chapter. I'm doubly honored to be representing both institutions, and a nice feeling to see so many friends. Dr. Rao, Professor in Ahmedabad, but he came to XLRI in 1984 to say that the L&T chair, as the L&T chair professor of HRD, and HRD was new in those days. Nobody knew what HRD was. It was just making the news. And L&T had sort of enshrined this chair in XLRI, and Dr. Rao came there to be the first L&T chair professor. And in his first batch of students was Krish Shankar. So Krish Shankar and Dr. Rao go a long way back, and it's only right that Dr. Rao is the chief guest in absentia today, but his words and his message is loud and clear to all of us, and we all revere him as somebody who is continuously thinking about the function and the future of the function. I would now have the honor and happiness to invite another doyen of our function, somebody who's been associated with NHRD Bangalore chapter for more than 25 years, somebody who has actually made the HR profession something that's highly respected, and somebody who has also had a very close association with Shankar. And he is somebody that all of us know and all of us again regard very highly. It's my pleasure and privilege to invite Mr. R.R. Nair to stage. Yet another doyen onto stage. As R.R. releases the book, I'd like the other doyen to receive the first copy of the book this evening. And I'm talking none other than Anand Naik. Anand and R.R. actually had careers parallel. Anand was with ITC and eventually was headed the HR function in ITC, and R.R. was in Hindustan Levers, those days now called Hindustan Unilever. They share a very rich bond, and a bond that stands as a kind of a role model for all of us HR folks over the years. Thank you, Anand, for being here. May I now request R.R. to release the copy of the book and then say a few words about the book and Krish as well. Krish, why don't you join us on stage, please? Words from RR.
Privilege and opportunity to hand deliver to my dear friend Anand this evening in the midst of all of you. It's equally a privilege to really say a few words about Krish Shankar has delivered formally this evening. First point I wanted to say is that he is not a person who is used to prescribing anything. If you go to really read his book, somewhere along the line, he has emphatically stated that these are a bunch of thoughts, ideas and reflections for me. And therefore he is offering a bouquet of thoughts and ideas and reflections for us to chew. And what is relevant and appropriate in our context, try and choose, reflect, improve and apply. And that I think is the spirit that I have seen in Shankar for a number of years that I have known. The second important aspect is that somewhere along the line, we seem to have consistently emphasized about the importance of outcome-focused HR. On I think page 20 or 21, he talks about some 10 clearly articulated outcome-focused dimensions of business and HR, and how to actually maximize the value of human resources to meet organizational goals and objectives. The book contains several frameworks and formulas. Now only a physicist or a scientist could have indulged in, but he has made very careful references to a number of formulas and a number of frameworks which will stay on in our mind for a much longer period. The other important feature of his book has been the engagement of the minds and hearts of a lot of people who have been regarded as very highly successful business leaders with a golden heart when it comes to people and people contributions are concerned. So there is a lot of supplementary insights he has been able to provide through his invitations to a number of business leaders and human resource leaders. So I really wanted to say that that is another dimension which adds to the value of this great book. And the last one is the last line in the book itself, which you will have noticed, all his earnings arising out of the sale of his book is not going to be consumed by him. It's out there for charity, for supporting organizations who are particularly engaged in education, in the field of education. And I think that's a great gesture on the part of Shankar, because rarely you come across this punchline, which is the last line of the book, and please take a look at it. So from my side, tons of good luck and success with this book. This is only the beginning. I'm sure that, like my friend in Mumbai, Gopalakrishnan, who has already finished about 25 books and is moving on to his 50th century, I'm sure that
And before we move forward, we thought we'd spend a few minutes chatting with Shankar about this event, the run-up to this event, and going forward as well. But before I do that, Shankar, today, the whole world is celebrating you. Whole world. Krish Jayanti is what is happening today. In every home they're chanting your name. And I don't know whether it's for today, with that in mind or not, but that's exactly what's happening. Yeah. And somebody was asking me the other day, why do you call him Shankar? Is he not Krish? Shankar has evolved over a period of time. He was Shankar, then he was Shanky, then he became Shanks, then he's now become Krish, and I'm waiting to see what's going to be happening next. Not only has the names changed, he's actually moved through multiple roles, and in each one, he's exemplified himself. He's somebody whom I would say is very robust, strong and sturdy individual, like the Eicher tractors. He is extremely bright, shining and sustainable and top of the pack, like Hindustan Unilever. He is well networked and connected, like Bharti Airtel. He is innovative and creative across the ages, like Philips. And now he is reinventing himself and reaching out to the global limits, like Infosys. And that's who Shankar is, and he epitomizes this. And I don't know whether you have picked it up from the companies or you have given it to the companies. But this evening, I want to have a candid chat with you on some dimensions I'm sure the others will be interested in knowing as well. I've always seen you as somebody who is well-read, interested in research and different thought processes. But when did the thought of writing a book yourself emanate? Where did it all begin? Thank you, Harish, and good evening and welcome to all of you here. It's a pleasure to have you all here this evening. I think, Harish has got some very kind words about me, and I don't know if, kind of justify whatever. The book actually, I've never thought of it, but 2 or 3 things happened. These are all people who you meet. One is Mr. R. Gopalakrishnan, who was my first kind of big boss in HU. He was the general manager of exports when I joined HU. And he came once to an NSRT event, showcase or whatever we did in 2008. And he said, why don't you write a book? I said, I can't, you should do something like that. And then he put a publisher after me. If you want anything on HR, he can write. And that's one thing. The second was really, there's another guy, I don't know if you all know, a guy called Chandramouli. Chandramouli Venkateshan, who was again XLRI 92 batch. He's written a couple of books, and the last book he was talking to me a lot about, and he passed away in and he told me, and he spoke to me and he said, you should also write. And so those are all the thoughts in my mind. And I think during the pandemic, I was reading a lot of things, we had some time here and there. So I thought, listen, we've been putting all of this together, why not try and share something? And therefore I started putting it all together. And in a way I wanted to make it a a book which is much more easily readable for people, practical, but yet make it more contemporary, because it's not a textbook, nor is it like a kind of a preaching stuff that he is doing. It's just more a collection of various experiences and insights that anybody can do. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, and it is indeed an easy read, and it is something that has something for everybody who picks up the book. Yeah, that's what it is. But tell me, writing a book is not easy, pandemic or no pandemic. What's the challenges that you faced when you actually started writing?
I think firstly there is like how to write, what to start is always a problem, because we can keep thinking, but it doesn't come easily. And I think I struggled for some time thinking about what it should be, what should be the way to do it. And it took me about 2-3 months of doing it. And then one of the ideas was, again, one of my friends who said, just start writing, put some thoughts together, and then over time you'll get some consciousness to all of that. So I started putting some things, just writing a page and this and that. But I think over 2-3 months, I think the idea of the structure of the book came. And once I got it, it was quite easy. Actually, I could, the first 2 months of just putting like a page here and there, different ideas. But after that, I think I could sit down on a weekend and just finish one chapter on a weekend. Like that, it was after about 15 months. So that when I was clear what I have to write, how I have to write, then it was much more clear. So you're right. I think the tip is, if you're keen on writing, just write down one page, etc., etc. You start writing something, and over time, I think it will build something, and then you can create a structure around it, and then complete it.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of writing this. But at some stage, you must have sort of figured out, saying that, who is this book meant for? Yeah, and to be honest, a lot of people are finding meaning in picking up the book. But in your mind, who did you want to target this book at primarily, and how has that come out?
I think that was the thing, because one idea was really this should appeal to a larger group of people. Yeah? It is not only for HR people. As I said, firstly, the idea is HR is seen as a little bit of a
black box, for many business people, and they think it's all processes, and HR only tells, helps us to say these are the boundaries kind of a thing. So I said, firstly, HR, we should really talk about the intent to the business leader. Number two, I think there's lots of new things happening in HR, and how do I bring that so that anybody who is a practicing HR person can also benefit from it. I think these are the two things. So any practicing HR person can benefit, as well as make it simple for any business leader. So I kept these two in mind. And I said, let's try and keep both, because at the end of the chapter, if anybody reads it, is it jargon free? Somebody who doesn't know HR, can they understand? That's how I kept. I think I kept in a way two target groups and I started. And while you were writing the book through the pandemic, and just before that, you were running marathons, and you also managed to get a doctorate from Aston University. Now, are all of these things linked in some fashion, or are they all very distinct elements in your life?
Actually, I got this doctorate long back. I started in 2013. It took me 6 years, and I finished only 2018. So that's like a long trip. And at that time, when I was thinking about writing a book, it was about something from that thing, from that whatever I did in my doctorate. It's all about understanding of how you can use emotions in day-to-day work. I thought I'll write on that. That wasn't my idea, but I said, let me do it after some time, and I will not. But this thing came, and basically, this Gopal's kind of link to this publisher, and they said, write something on HR. And that's how I came up with this. It was like it never was in my mind, but I just tried and made it there. But you're right, it just was, I used some of the things from what I did in my PhD in the book in some ways. Yeah.
No, when one reads the, testimonials, and also one reads the kind of references in every chapter, it's so rich. And this one doesn't find in too many books these days. And especially a book on contemporary HR, you actually leverage the research that's going on in different parts of the world. And that's what made me think, saying that maybe there is a strong link to the research that you had to do for your doctorate program as well.
I think I would say about 25% of the references are from my research. And there are others which are much more popular books, actually. They're all quite popular.
And is there any part of the book that's your favorite? Not necessarily a chapter, but in writing and presenting the book, there are very many new novel dimensions. Yeah. For example, I find the titles that you've given, the Beatles' some names, and the first page, which is a very good summary, written in a very visual fashion. These are all some new novel elements. But for yourself, what's the aspect of the book that you love the most, that you're very, very proud of? The whole book is your pride, no doubt at all about it. But which is the one that gives you the greatest happiness and satisfaction?
It's tough to say. I don't know. I think I had fun in choosing the titles. So it was all about songs that I heard when I was in XLRI in those 80s, early 80s. So I think these are all titles of various songs which are popular then. So I kind of used that, and that's number one. I think, to me, I think this whole the idea of I think those visual summaries again. If on Twitter and LinkedIn. There's a guy called Tanmay Ora who does quite a lot, and he's connected, and I said, Tanmay, can you help? And he said fine. So he helped draw all of those. So and he's been phenomenal, because he'll take the chapter, he'll read it, and he'll summarize. Although I made a summary, but he'll read it himself and he'll summarize, and he did a fabulous job in putting those things. And the idea was, at least nowadays people are also looking at things in a visual way, so let us try and put something in a much more visual way. So that was the other thing. I think for me, I think I think every chapter is big, but I think trying to, the point that I really enjoyed was also talking to people, many HR leaders, and getting some insights from them was, I think, for me the most, I put all of this, then I said, let's, it's fine, but let me also get somebody who's a different perspective. So I got a few CEOs, Suresh, I mean, these are all people who worked with me, and I've interacted with them, like Manoj Kohli, Suresh Narayanan, and all of them, Sanjay Kapoor, and then Shiv Kumar, and all of them are pretty, we had Anand Kripala, we had great, and I can tell you all this I did in the December of 2021, because it was a winter holiday, they all had holidays, and they said fine, so we just spent an hour or two on Zoom and talking, and I
use that. I think that for me was a great thing, and all the people who worked together with me, Archana Bhaskar, Ranjay Radhakrishnan, Leena Nair, and all of them, I think around that time did some books, and I think that to me was really the thing that I really enjoyed.
Excellent, wonderful. And the question that's in everybody's mind, and the question that RR was sort of suggesting, is there another book in the annual?
Yeah. My first idea is still there. I have to do that. I don't know when I will do, but I'll think I have to do more work on it. So I'm thinking what it is. So hopefully maybe another 3-4 years. Nothing now. So as of now I've got, I think this is enough. Let's see.
Shankar, as usual, very genuine, authentic, honest, considered, well-researched, and what really appeals to many folks is your ever-smiling nature and modesty. Shankar, wish you the very best with this book and many more to come. We are all your real cheerleaders, yeah? And all the very best to you, Shankar.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks a lot. As also just to add, as RR said, there are 2 NGOs to whom whatever I get out of this goes. One is Priya Ghar, with whom XL Bangalore does a lot of work. I think they do a lot for the migrant community. And the other is a foundation called Matram Foundation, which our friend Sujit Kumar, who is in Chennai, who runs.
Over the last 4 years, she's been extremely active at NHRDN Bangalore chapter. Started off with, I think, as a young advisory board member, and now as a management committee member at the Bangalore chapter. And Nikita is the co-leader for NHRDN initiative and campaign called Mind Matters. It's one of those well-being initiatives, very thematic and contemporary, and she leads that initiative, and they have already touched about 110 plus companies, I believe, through this campaign. Fantastic. And she's been recognized as an emerging HR leader by People Matters in their Are You in the List?
Many videos, you keep one full video.
Please welcome Nikita Doshi. Next, I invite a very old and young friend, my Pallab, to come up on stage, please. Pallab is a leadership architect and coach, change and transition specialist. He is a doctorate fellow in HRD from XLRI Jamshedpur. And after a very long and successful corporate leadership career, he's now become an academician who is in great demand. He is a visiting faculty at XLRI, IIM Lucknow, IIM Indore, and IIM Kozhikode. And he teaches HRM and OB in these campuses. He is the founder of HR Plus, a strategic advisory firm. Welcome to this panel. And last but not the least, we have Meenakshi Priyam. Can I invite Meenakshi Priyam to join us on the stage, please? Meenakshi is a global HR leader of 20 plus years experience across marquee companies like GSK, Novartis, Johnson & Johnson. Currently, Group CHRO at Udaan, a startup company, and one of the leading iconic companies in the startup ecosystem. An alumnus of XLRI Jamshedpur, known for her understanding of business needs and drivers, partnering business and crafting innovative HR solutions. Meenakshi was featured as India's best business leaders under 40 by Business Today in 2015, and also as one of India's most influential women business leaders by Business World in 2018. Welcome to this panel, Meenakshi. And it's going to be my pleasure and privilege to engage this panel in discussion this evening on catalyst and kickstarting the people ecosystem theme as well. So let me begin by asking all of you your starting words about this book, Catalyst. This CATALYSE book, I hope you all read it. Yeah. So, there are many people here who we need to ensure that they buy the book today if they have not read it already. Yeah. So, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about this book that you have read, CATALYSE by Krish Shankar, and any surprises for you in this book? Anybody can start. Who would like to go first?
Harish, you mentioned about Krishna and Meenakshi. I just want to add to that, like Krishna was a catechist. I think some of us here have experienced Krish as a catechist. And I think that was what summarizes the book. I have actually experienced it. And I have experienced Krish's leadership. So if I have to share my top 2 learnings, I think there will be many, but if I have to share my top 2 learnings, I think first one would be on just the entire element of purpose-led organizations, purpose-led leadership. And when I talk about purpose, one at an individual level, then what's my purpose? What's my why? And the book talks a lot about it. And it's very important that nowadays individuals are on the lookout for purpose-led jobs, meaning in their jobs. They don't want to do a job just for the sake of it. And as well as organization purpose. Does it organization purpose sync with my purpose? That's very, very important. And purpose is the central theme of this entire book. The second one is on, and Krish talks about in the book, on HR's role as an emotional catalyst and architect. And very, very important for us to leverage emotions at work. How can we train our people to recognize emotions? Emotions, and a lot of these challenges that we face in the organization are because of emotions. It talks about these 4 basic emotions as pride, gratitude, compassion, happiness, and how can we build some rituals, practices to build this in the organization. So I think these are my top 2 learnings. One, the entire element of purpose-led leadership, and the second one on HR's role as a
Wonderful, wonderful. I think very, very important elements, and you're right, Krish brings that out beautifully. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Harish. Really, really happy to be here. I think, I've never worked with Krish directly, but he often is my first port of call on various things. Of course,
I'm doing it, but still you're making good.
So I think it's amazing that all his wisdom is captured in the book now. So for many of you who have not experienced it, I think a lot of that wisdom is really, really well captured in the book. It's a lovely book. I read it, revised it, and I have notes on it as well. So guys, really, I think, but honestly, I think it's really a gem of a book for any HR profession, but I would also say CEOs, CXOs, and others. It's a super book. What stood out for me in the book is actually every chapter is really beautiful, and the message it captures is great. What stood out for me in the book is a couple of things. I think one, having walked across multitude of industries and geographies, oftentimes I feel many things do not fully relate into where I am today. It doesn't apply naturally. What I like in this book is connectedness to your context. I think everybody will find something in this book which really strikes home to them. I found a lot of things that today in startup ecosystem I often challenge to look at from a traditional ecosystem that doesn't work. And actually some of it is very well captured in the book. So I think it's really lovely for a book to connect with so many contexts at a time. I think the second thing I really liked is a take on evolution of the HR function. I think it's a great take. I think a whole lot of us sort of graduated in the HR world on on the 4 Pots model, and the entire archetype of HR function to move breaking silos into different roles. The way it summarizes is actually one thing that stood out for me, not just in this book, but I remember he wrote a blog before this book articulating the same, and it had struck a note even at that point in time. That's what I would say.
Absolutely true, and Krish mentioned about that. So this book is a culmination of thoughts that's been assimilated over a period of time, and all the essence of that wisdom is being poured into this book, and that's what your experience yourself. Yeah, wonderful, great. Pallab.
Hello. Yeah. Nice to be here. So when this bingo game was being played, so they said, what are you identifying? So the first point, which I am one of those vintage variety who read 25 non-fiction every year. So therefore I will start with the style with which the book was written. I don't know, some people probably will identify when we were young, at least Harish will identify, probably Krish will also. Those days we used to hear running commentary, if you remember. And the first person I was introduced to by my father, basically is P.R.C. Zurita, the American born in Calcutta, and one of the earlier broadcasters. There was no TV, so all that you can do is hear him. But once you hear him, you can feel the game, how it is being played. And the second person is, also some of you will remember, Rajan Bala. Natarajan Balakrishnan, re-christened as Rajan Bala, died in this very city, somewhere in 1985. I'm a big fan. He used to be a columnist, and he used to travel to different countries of the world along the Indian Sea. So what you get to read is next day morning. Where you get to read today, next second, next day morning the newspaper will come and you will read Rajan Bala's song. So this too, I think, that's the style with which Krish has written the book, which I call it inside out perspective. Being there, done it many times, and describing. So therefore you can feel this is real. I think both Meenakshi and Nikita has talked about connectedness, relevance. It can only come from inside out perspective. So thanks Krish for writing that. So you could feel that this is HR. Second is the purpose of the book. If you read, I would like to reiterate again because he made it very clear in the first foreword he has written. He said there are 3 things which is required. If you remember, the 3 concentric circles he has drawn. One is business acumen. A lot of books have been written on that. Second is leadership behavior. Suddenly so many books have been written on there. And the third one is supportive people, processes, stroke systems. That's what the book about. Especially at this juncture, when you're talking about change, he has a particular chapter on change, bringing in millennials, multi-generational, AI, machine learning, everything. So he has put it across that this is what is required to be done. The whole notion of legitimacy of HR function, which I think is very important because I see people from different age group. Sorry for saying this, either you agree or disagree. It does a very apologetic function. I've spent almost 2 decades in this function. I don't know why. I always say that. You will see always there is a conference having, even now, the future of it. I haven't yet attended any conference which says future of finance, future of marketing, future of supply chain management. So I think this book entirely has not only talked about experience happening, and RR was talking about outcome-based HR. So he has put it across very well to business leaders that HR function is indeed outcome-based. No more a black box, right? So that is very, very important and very profound. And the last point, a little bit of professor in me, and I must say that and end. You see, this is always this dilemma between practice and academic. A couple of my good friends from academic Bhopal is here. There are many who are here. There is a very healthy distance between the academics and the practice. Whole life I have been trying. I edit this journal for National SRD Network Journal. So I decided the last 4-5 issues will be edited by only academics. Because academics said what in SRD journal. So I made sure that this is being edited by only good academics. So I end by saying, and this is my favorite quote by Cartier, there is nothing more practical than a field. So Krish has generated a lot of frameworks within this book, and that's why I make it very distinctive, and I recommend this book for all, not only practitioners but also students to read this book, because he has generated this series of frameworks from actual practice.
Very well said, Pallab. Very well said. So this book really is about what Shankar himself has practiced over a period of time. He's modified practice over a period of time, and he's now providing a framework around those practice so that others can emulate and take it forward to a next time. So that's very well put. Yeah, excellent. And the theme of the book really is about powering up the people ecosystem. That's what this book is all about. Yeah. And all three of you are very intimately related to the people ecosystem in many organizations, and now you have a set of people with whom you are engaged with as well. So when you put yourself in your current scenarios, which elements or parts of the book sort of seem practical and really can be applied in your current context, and it jumps to you as saying that, wow, now this is something I can run with. Any such thoughts and ideas? What are your challenges in your current scenario? And what elements of the book sort of lends itself to you?
I think if I have to talk about culture, and the book talks a lot about the culture and the values, and that's truly a differentiator and a competitive advantage for organizations. Often people ask me that how come you're in one organization for so many years, 10 plus years. In fact, even today a lot of people are asking me, and culture has been truly the differentiator for me. And when I read the book, there were some elements that I copy-pasted it because I wanted to read it better. And since it's a book, I thought it's good to actually read out an extract from the book. So I definitely want to read that. It truly resonated with the culture of my company. And there were a lot of frameworks, like you mentioned, a lot of interesting ideas with respect to cultural change. Because that's not easy. How do you change culture? And it's a journey to get there. So I definitely want to read a small extract from the book about the culture. So culture is about clearly observable or experienced behaviors consistent over time. And a strong differentiating culture is the one that is marked by great intensity and consistency of behaviors. So values determine culture determines behaviors, and behaviors determine outcomes. We spoke about outcome-driven HR, so how culture actually leads to outcomes. And the book also shares interesting 5 questions and a great frame for cultural change. One, what are those behaviors that are critical to our business success that will truly build a differentiated competitive advantage for us? Second, do people know what they should be doing differently? Like, has it actually reached everyone? Is my leadership committed to this cultural change? We talk about leaders, role modeling. Are all my HR systems, be it assessments, hiring, promotion, rewards, whatever, aligned to behaviors? And the last one is, how do I know that we are moving in the right direction? So when I went through this, and there's a lot more, and I would encourage everyone to read the book, a lot of thoughts, with respect to my current organization, with respect to culture, what are the things that we have done, it totally resonated with me. So I would say that.
Okay, so I'll talk about my challenges and my current role. I spend between mostly my time goes into consulting. I'm an accidental academic, and some research. So I'll talk about an actual real life incident which happened this week, the beginning of the week. And this is interesting, this is a group, everybody knows this group, I won't name the group, it is one of the oldest family-owned, diversified large group. And there was a coaching assignment, and there was a Zoom call. And here is the CEO and the CSR, group CEO and group CSR. And then I was told the owner would be there. So let me describe the owner's profile. Now, late 30s. And before I go, obviously I did a little bit of research for this person. Educated in US, MBA from previous school, and father was very much well known. Father has given the thing and he's going to. So I was told that he will be there because he wants to find out why should we invest in coaching. That was the point. And he said he will not talk, but he will be there. So I said, okay, let me go. So then the conversation went on. The first thing, and I was told very clearly, why should I spend on people? Coaching is basically initiating on people. What is the rate of return? So it was close to about an hour of conversation. They were asking questions and I was telling. So honestly, one of the books that was first me in my mind was CATALYSE. And in fact, I recommended this person to please read that. Okay? And because a couple of things which is very, very clear. See, one is legitimacy of the people function. And the role of HR, so my point was, I still believe, and I'm personally committed to the fact that HR professionals' primary job is to emotionally connect with them. Now, the moment I say this, everybody says, why are you seeing managers should be the biggest hero. All managers should be leaders. But I think that what do you do? TV is not there, he's my guru. I remember he used to always tell me in those days, I used to work for Dr. Kurian, and TV would call me and he will not find me in his room because those days we didn't have mobile, so telephone they will connect. And then he would say, no, you are doing a good job. I said, why? Because he said, you are not found in your table. Right? So you emotionally connect. So my proposition was very simple to this person that if you do this, your people are not telling your managers, the managers can increase their potential by connects if they are able to emotionally connect. And coaching, as you know, especially in the context of millennial, told you, gone are those days where you can tell them somebody to what to do, tell them that I have done it, therefore you do it. So a lot of this, you are yourself a big coach, a great coach. So there are a lot of elements which basically makes you connect with people. So emotional connect, legitimacy of emotional connect. I can give a number of examples where he has described, and especially I'll give three things. One, if you read this book, Nitin Paranjali and Hindustan Leader, you'll be very much aware, 50,000 outlets. Look at what he is trying to communicate. To me, again, the whole notion of what Ara was also emphasizing, people have a great potential. If you read that piece, Nitin's interview, it says, I left it to people with this to achieve this great goal. And then I realized they have achieved. The second is Sunil, the CEO of Airtel, right? Sunil Kapoor. Sunil Kapoor talks about two things very, very distinctly. Investment, and I gave this example. Luckily it was in my mind, so I gave this example. When Airtel started, the first thing he said, overstaffing of people. I encourage you to read that book. A company normally, pardon me for my French, because we all know Airtel is a Banya company. That's what the thing I get, right? But it's very clearly written that we have overstaffed because you know we have a long way. Second thing he said, when we changed, like we came and everything was growing. What we did, we hired very good leaders. In some sense, again, in excess. So, what I'm doing, if you look at purely from the perspective of doing business, I am investing in people. Because everywhere it is talked about today, we are very talk about cost cutting, layoff. Even there is a chapter which is written. But look at that, because that was required in the business. The second example, the last example is Mr. Manoj, who is the CHRO of this company called CATALYSE. Very well tested, it's nothing great intervention, but I think what they did is they wanted to bring a culture because they are growing and they wanted to get a service culture. Again, what did they do? They created 150 people and given the responsibility to others to do, train 5,000 people. And Pallab, again in this book, please read, it's a great example of creating a culture which is highly customary. So these three examples clearly show, right, that this is there. And then Krish has propagated a lot of framework. So one of the things I completely align with you, we have been talking too long about 70-20 days.
Very rare that we happen to greet and meet an audience in person, and which is why this is overwhelming more for the people who go on stage, and for whoever went on stage so far will be able to conquer to that. But quickly, given that we are as many people in the room right now, we should not miss this opportunity to network with each other. We don't know, and I hope not, the next wave is coming, so we rather might make the best use of the time we are all together right now, and hence networking bingo. So all of you all are being given sheets by our set of extremely diligent volunteers. Please do take one of them. I'll explain it to you. I'm just waiting until it goes to every one of you. And until then, we'll also